Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Theory of Racelessness YouTube channel. If you'd like to see more, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to get notified every time we post a new video. To get even more involved, feel free to leave us a comment down below and share your thoughts. We'd love to hear them. Now, enjoy the video.
But let's just focus on people who are racialized as Black in American society by law enforcement. It's so minuscule. It's not irrelevant, because I think where there's opportunity, there are opportunities, and we can improve. We can prove anything and everything about our society, and we should aspire to do that. And that's assuming that some of the total number are unjustified, because just because you have a number doesn't mean it wasn't justified, right? I mean, literally, I calculated it for my second book because I talk extensively about data sets in one of the chapters, and I mean, it's like 0.0000004% chance, probably even more zeros. The odds of anything happening to you is so small, it's not even funny. Now, based on Roland Fryer's studies, the odds of you getting pulled over and harassed and maybe roughhoused a little bit for something like expired tags are increased. But I bet if we did the calculations, we would come to find out that also, while in some communities it's more likely to happen, arguably, and this is where zip code and economic class come into play, it's still going to be a very unlikely scenario. And I think racialist ideology sets us up to think that it's more likely than it's almost guaranteed in a way, and that, you know, the narrative, I think LeBron James co-signed this, you know, police are hunting us in the streets, us being people who are racialized as Black. And it's like, bro, that's not even remotely close to reality. It's not even on planet Earth. But what does it mean to have an entire population of people, entire is stretching the truth a little bit, a significant portion of the population of people believing that that's the reality? Who benefits from that? Who benefits from that? I guarantee you I guarantee you and I don't. And any children you have, if you give them to talk, they don't benefit from it. I will not give my children to talk, because I'm not going to inspire the fear, angst, and all this other stuff that I myself have experienced and continue to experience, because I'm human and because I have to strategically and mindfully practice getting myself outside of racialist ways of thinking. I mean, I used to have, you know, flashes of what happens if my wife gets pulled over because she has darker brown skin than me and dreadlocks, right? All kinds of worst case scenarios. And it was like, bro, who benefits from that way of thinking if it's not matching reality? And of course, I mean, that's definitely coming across as a rhetorical question, but I say follow the money. You know, the people at the upper echelons of, you know, human society who have the most money and therefore the most political power, etc., those people benefit, and all the rest of us, we're just minions, like you said. And I think another word for minion in this instance is like we're simultaneous victims and victors in a lot of ways, because one of the detrimental impacts of racism that I've come across and have even experienced is the psychological impact. It's the constant passing on of the trauma of days past, you know, in ways that belie reality. And I have to ask the question again, who benefits from that?
Yeah, I appreciate like all of it. First of all, it's interesting to think about LeBron James and the idea that LeBron James does not probably very unlikely get harassed by any police officer ever. I think it's probably 0.000 repeating. There's 0% chance probably that he's going to be harassed by a police officer and not admired.
And what's the reason, Shane? What's the reason? that he is very,
because
very,
of
very
his
unlikely.
power and his celebrity and his money. And also, LeBron James doesn't like, I mean, I don't know what he does, but I do know that I have never heard of LeBron James really doing things that are not lawful. And so, in that circumstance, I could imagine that there are pro athletes who are do things that are unlawful and get severe treatment from the police. And I could even maybe argue that that's a masculinity thing, maybe also a racial thing, but like just this idea of I'm arresting this pro athlete out of, whatever. But the reasons why people do things they do are complicated and are always multifaceted to multiple levels of our identities, but also to like their trainings, to their perception of a situation, which we've all been in situations in which we are like, why did to your partner or something, why did you say that to the waitress? And you're like, what do you mean? She's and you're like, no, she didn't do that. Like she was pretty like normal. And so like there are lots of situations in which we misperceive a threat or act of disrespect. Not saying that police brutality is ever acceptable, but saying that there's racial reasons, there's gender reasons, there's just a multitude of reasons that I think things happen. I also think that this idea of transporting or sharing generational trauma also it happens among white people and among police officers of sharing negative experiences with Black people that then change how police officers are perceiving themselves in an interaction with a Black person. I was also going to say, when I was a child, my grandmother would be called a white woman, and she spent a lot of time raising me. I spent like all my summers with her, all my winters, all that kind of stuff. And she was a liberal, but certainly like she liked, her brother was a fireman, her other brother was a policeman, they're Irish immigrants, so they're quite, very American dream type folks, and very much like we made it, we did everything we had to do. And so when I was a kid, my grandmother, we see the police officer, we see a fire truck, we wave at them. And we would go to places and I would meet police officers or meet firemen, and I wasn't frightened of them. And I remember when I was in maybe 7th grade, there was this girl in our neighborhood, one of my sister's friends, she might have been in 2nd grade. And a police officer drove by and like my sisters and I waved, and she screamed and cried and ran away. And I remember being like, what's like wrong with you? Like police are here to help. Like, why are you like crying? And and she said like that the police took her father away. And I remember being like in my head, like, okay, like, I'm sure that you don't know like the whole story of like why the police arrested your father. But I do, every single time a police officer drove away, she cried, like drove by, like she would have an attack. And I was like, this is insane. And in you talking about that reminded me of that experience of like, I feel so differently about the police. And so, which also reminded me of a story of homecoming at William & Mary. We were all on a roof of this parade. This is parade happening. We're all on the roof drinking, watching the parade. And the police come to the backyard, and I was climbing down probably to get another beer or do something. And I see them, and I walked up to them, and I was like, hi, like, what's up? And they were like, what are you guys doing? Whatever. Like, can you tell them to get off the roof? Like, we don't want anything to happen. And I was like, yeah. So I went up there, and then I came back down and I chatted with the police. And one of the police officers was telling me, like, we don't want to be hard asses, but I actually had a friend who died at JMU. He fell off a roof or whatever. And I kind of like, I just want to make sure you guys are safe, blah, blah, blah. And I remember in my head thinking, this is so weird. I'm the only Black person here, and I'm the one talking to the police. And remembering this from what you're saying, it's also so weird that I was thinking it was weird that I was having a normal conversation with law enforcement, that I like felt that there has to be something else that is going to have to happen. They're going to have to be rude to me, or they're going to have to like accuse me of something, even though I knew the reality of the situation, but my racialized mind was thinking, this isn't how it is. Like something like this is very odd. This is an abnormal interaction, when in reality it's like that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, because, contrary to popular belief, law enforcement are people too. And it's one of those things where I think people say law enforcement, it's code for white or whiteness, which is a whole other rabbit hole part of this conversation that I won't go into now, but it's something I'm constantly mindful of too, because it really does maintain the sort of us versus them. And while I think there are plenty of reasons to question the establishment, we should all question the establishment, and we should all question the people that hold the most power in this country, like the government, for example, and why they keep us in racialist boxes. So this isn't a matter of saying, oh, law enforcement is perfect and there are no problems and they always do everything perfectly. No, because they're human, that's not true, right? And as laudable as an aspiration is to get them to be perfect, I recognize their humanity, recognize that that's, unfortunately, they're never going to get to a place of perfection. But I do think that we've all become minions, or pawns would probably be a more apt term. Oh, simultaneously we're pawns and minions, because we're carrying out the thing, but also we're being played.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to support our channel and keep the conversation going. For more Theory of Racelessness, you can follow us on Twitter @Racelessness or use the link in the description box down below. We hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, there is still so much more to come. Until then, thank you so much from the Theory of Racelessness. Have a great day.